morning sky over Seoul turned black as the alien ships arrived. Commander Taeho pressed his binoculars harder against his eyes, trying to count the massive vessels floating above the city. Each ship was the size of a mountain, their dark metal hulls blocking out the sun. The Han River below reflected their ominous shadows like a broken mirror. "How many?" whispered Lieutenant Mina, standing beside him on the Defense Ministry rooftop. "Too many," Taeho replied, his voice steady despite the fear growing in his chest. "At least 50 ships, maybe more." The aliens had arrived without warning 3 hours ago. No radio signals, no advance notice. They simply appeared in Earth's skies over every major city on the planet. London, New York, Tokyo, Berlin, Moscow, all reported the same terrifying sight. Mina's radio crackled to life. "Sir, they're broadcasting again. All frequencies, all languages." Taeho lowered his binoculars and hurried down the stairs to the command center. The room buzzed with activity as officers scrambled to coordinate with military bases across the country. But everyone stopped when the holographic image appeared in the center of the room. The alien was tall and thin, with gray skin that looked like old leather. 4 yellow eyes sat in its elongated skull, and when it spoke, all 4 eyes seemed to focus on different points in the room. Its voice was calm, almost bored, as if it had delivered this same speech hundreds of times before. "People of Earth," the creature said, speaking perfect Korean to the Korean soldiers, perfect English to the Americans, perfect Japanese to the Japanese. "I am Supreme Chancellor Mordok of the Hegemony. We represent 12 advanced civilizations united under one banner." The alien gestured with one of its 4 arms, and the hologram showed images of other worlds, beautiful planets with strange cities and unusual life forms. "These worlds once resisted us, as you surely will. They learned, as you will learn, that resistance brings only destruction. We do not wish to destroy you. Your species shows promise as workers and builders." Taeho felt his jaw clench. Workers and builders. Slaves, in other words. The alien continued, "Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Your military cannot threaten our forces. This is not a negotiation. It is a simple choice. Submit to hegemony rule, and your people will live as productive members of our empire. Refuse, and we will demonstrate the fate that awaits all who oppose us." The hologram flickered and changed, showing scenes of devastation. Cities reduced to smoking craters, forests turned to ash, oceans boiling under alien weapons. "You have 72 hours to decide. Choose wisely." The image vanished, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Across the world, similar scenes played out in government buildings and military bases. In the Blue House, President Dong-woo sat at his desk, staring at the phone that connected him to world leaders. Similar calls were happening everywhere, desperate conversations between leaders who had never faced anything like this. "Mr. President," his aide said quietly, "Prime Minister Yu Jin from Britain is on line 1. Chancellor Haewon from Germany on line 2. President Kisu from America on line 3. Dong-woo picked up the first phone. "Yujin, are you seeing this? The same ships are over London," came the reply, her usually calm voice shaking. "My military advisors say our missiles couldn't even scratch their hulls. What are we going to do?" Before Dong-woo could answer, reports began flooding in from around the globe. The alien ships weren't just watching, they were scanning. Every military base, every government building, every major population center was being analyzed by invisible beams from the alien vessels. In a secret facility beneath the Pentagon, General Harrison stared at satellite images of the alien fleet. "They're not even trying to hide their strength," he told his staff. "This isn't a military operation, it's a demonstration." Meanwhile, in an underground bunker in Switzerland, Dr. Elena Vasquez studied the energy readings from the alien ships. The power signatures are off the charts, she reported to the Emergency Council of Scientists. Each ship generates more energy than our largest nuclear plants, and they're not even running at full capacity. The aliens' message was clear. This wasn't a war, it was a collection. They had done this 847 times before, on 847 different worlds. The pattern was always the same. Arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, then integrate the conquered species into their empire as a servant class. But as the hours passed and emergency meetings continued around the clock, something unexpected began to happen. Instead of panic and despair, a strange determination began to grow among Earth's leaders and citizens. In Seoul, Commander Taeho looked out at the alien ships again as the sun set behind them. "Mina," he said to his aide, "get me a direct line to every military base in the country, then connect me to our allies." "Sir, what are you planning?" Taeho smiled grimly. "Something the aliens haven't seen in their 847 conquests. Something they don't expect and won't understand until it's too late." The countdown had begun. 72 hours to decide humanity's fate. But the aliens had made one critical mistake. They had given humanity time to think, time to plan, and time to do what humans do best when cornered: fight back. Dr. Su-Ben wiped the sweat from her forehead as she bent over the twisted metal wreckage. The alien scout ship had crashed in the mountains outside Seoul 18 months ago, but the government had kept it secret until now. Now, with only 60 hours left before the deadline, every piece of alien technology was precious. "Hand me that scanner," she called to her assistant. Dr. Park. The underground laboratory buzzed with activity as 30 scientists worked around the clock, taking apart every bolt and wire of the crashed vessel. "The metal is incredibly strong," Park reported, running tests on a fragment. "But look at this, their electronics use a completely different approach than ours. Instead of circuits, they use some kind of energy flow system." Subin nodded, then suddenly stopped. She stared at a small device that looked like a metal flower with glowing petals. "This is their shield generator," she whispered. "It's been running this whole time, even after the crash." She connected her instruments to the device and watched the readings carefully. The shield energy rose and fell in a steady pattern, like a heartbeat, strong for several seconds, then dropping to almost nothing for a brief moment, then strong again. "Every 2.7 seconds, she said, excitement growing in her voice. "The shield completely drops for exactly 0.3 seconds every 2.7 seconds. That's our window." General Wonho's face appeared on the video screen, transmitted from a secure bunker beneath the Blue House. "Are you certain, Doctor?" "Completely certain, sir. Their shields are powerful, but they have this weakness. If we time our attacks perfectly, we can get through." Around the world, similar discoveries were being made. In a hidden laboratory under MIT, American scientists found that alien hull metal became brittle when exposed to specific sound frequencies. In London, British researchers discovered that alien sensors were blind to certain radio wavelengths. In Moscow, Russian engineers learned that alien power systems overheated when pushed beyond normal limits. The aliens had been so confident in their superiority that they had never bothered to hide their technology's weaknesses. After conquering 847 worlds, they expected Earth to surrender like all the others. President Dongwu stood in the Blue House press room, looking directly into the cameras that would broadcast his words to every nation on Earth. Behind him, flags from dozens of countries hung side by side, a sight that would have been impossible just days before. "My fellow humans," he began, his voice steady and strong. 72 hours ago, we were separate nations with separate interests. We argued about borders, trade, and politics. Today, we face something that makes all those differences meaningless." He paused, letting his words sink in around the world. In living rooms from Seoul to São Paulo, families gathered around their televisions. In factories from Detroit to Delhi, workers stopped their machines to listen. The aliens offer us a choice: slavery or death. But they have forgotten something important about the human spirit. We choose neither. We choose to fight. We choose to stand together as one species, defending our home and our freedom. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within hours, offers of help poured in from every corner of the globe. Military bases that had been enemies just weeks before began sharing intelligence and resources. Scientists who had competed for decades started collaborating on projects they once would have kept secret. In Busan, factory worker Geneseo gathered his fellow workers in the main assembly area of the automotive plant. "The government needs weapons," he announced. "Our machines can't build cars anymore, but they can build something else." The workers looked at each other uncertainly. They knew how to build engines and body panels, not weapons. "I served in the army," Geneseo continued. "I know what anti-aircraft guns look like. Our stamping machines can make the barrels. Our welding stations can assemble them. Our computers can calculate the targeting systems." Within 6 hours, the first crude but functional anti-aircraft weapon rolled off the assembly line. It wasn't pretty. It looked like someone had welded car parts together around a large gun barrel. But when they tested it, it worked. Similar scenes played out everywhere. In the mountains of Jeolla province, farmer Young Mi studied topographic maps with her neighbors. "The caves in these hills connect 4 kilometers underground," she explained. "If the cities fall, people can hide here." She organized teams to stock the caves with food, water, and medical supplies. Other teams cleared debris from old mining tunnels and created hidden entrances. Within days, an entire underground network was ready to shelter thousands of civilians. The aliens watched these preparations from their ships with growing confusion. Supreme Chancellor Mordok studied the reports from his intelligence officers with all 4 eyes. "They are building primitive weapons," reported his aide. "Their manufacturing capacity has increased by 400% in just 2 days. Every factory on the planet is now producing military equipment." "And the civilian population?" Mordok asked. "Instead of fleeing in panic, they are organizing, creating supply networks, evacuation routes, communication systems. Their governments are sharing military secrets with former enemies." Mordok's 4 eyes blinked slowly. In 847 previous conquests, civilian populations had either surrendered immediately or collapsed into chaos. Military forces had fought briefly, then given up. When they realized the hopelessness of their situation, "Perhaps we should demonstrate our power more clearly," suggested his military commander. "Destroy one city as an example." "No," Mordok replied after a long pause. "Something is different about this species. Let us wait and see what they do with their remaining time." He was about to learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or their technology. It was their absolute refusal to accept defeat. No matter how hopeless the odds appeared, the sun was just rising over Seoul when the sky exploded with light. Captain Jae-wook was already in his cockpit, engines warming up on the hidden airstrip carved into the mountain outside the city. He had been waiting for this moment since the aliens first appeared. "Dragon Squadron, this is Dragon Leader." He spoke into his radio as plasma beams began raining down from the alien ships above. "Remember what Dr. Subin taught us. Wait for the shield drop." His F-35 fighter jet looked different now. The wings carried extra missiles, and the nose had been fitted with new targeting computers built from studying the crashed alien ship. It wasn't pretty, but it might work. "Dragon Leader, I count 12 alien fighters coming down from the main ship," reported Dragon 2, Pilot Lieutenant Hansel. "They're heading straight for us." Jae-wook pulled his jet into the sky, his squadron following close behind. The alien fighters were sleek and fast, like silver arrows cutting through the air. Their weapons could destroy his plane with one shot, but he had learned something they didn't know he knew. Hold steady, he radioed to his team as alien plasma bolts flashed past them. Wait for it, ... Wait for it, ... He watched his instruments carefully. The alien shield energy was strong, then weaker, then strong again, just like Dr. Subin had discovered. Now, he shouted. All 6 human fighters fired at once during that 0.3-second window when the alien shields were down. The missiles struck home, and the first alien fighter exploded in a ball of fire. It works, screamed Dragon 3 over the radio. Their shields really do drop. But the victory was more alien fighters poured from the ships above, and plasma beams began targeting the mountain airstrip below. Jaewook saw his home base disappear in a flash of green light. Dragon Squadron, scatter and attack the big ships, he ordered. Use the timing we practiced. Far below, in the subway tunnels beneath Seoul, Boyoung crouched in the darkness with her team of resistance fighters. She had been a college student just 3 days ago, studying engineering. Now she was building bombs from household chemicals and old car parts. They're coming down the main tunnel, whispered her friend Sungmin, looking through a periscope they had rigged up to street level. 20 alien soldiers, all in armor. Boyoung nodded and checked her improvised explosive device one more time. It was made from fertilizer, fuel, and metal pieces from a destroyed bus. Not fancy, but it would work. The alien ground troops moved in perfect formation, their energy weapons glowing in the tunnel darkness. They expected organized military resistance, uniformed soldiers in clear formations that they could defeat, with superior technology and tactics. Instead, they got Boyoung's bomb exploding from a hidden position in the tunnel wall. The explosion killed 3 aliens, and wounded several others. But before the survivors could react, Boyoung and her team were already gone, crawling through ventilation shafts and maintenance tunnels that connected to the old sewer system. Phase 2, she radioed to other resistance teams throughout the city. Hit them from the subway entrance at Gangnam Station. 10 minutes later, another explosion echoed through Seoul's underground. Then another at City Hall Station. Then 3 more at different locations across the city. The alien ground commander, Field Commander Vexstar, studied the battle reports with growing frustration. His forces had superior weapons, armor, and training, but they couldn't fight an enemy they couldn't see. These humans have no honor, he complained to Supreme Chancellor Mordok during their evening strategy meeting. They don't form battle lines. They don't wear uniforms. They attack from hiding places and run away before we can respond. Are we not winning? Mordok asked, his 4 eyes studying the tactical displays. We are causing damage, yes, but we are also taking losses. 3 fighters shot down, 15 ground troops killed, 1 transport destroyed. In 847 previous conquests, we never lost more than a few soldiers in the first week. Mordok was silent for a long moment. The reports from other battle zones around Earth were similar. Human resistance was fierce and unexpected. They fought dirty, using tactics that civilized species never employed. Perhaps we should increase the pressure, Vexstar suggested. Destroy one of their major cities completely. Show them what happens to those who resist. Very well. Target their city called Daegu. Make an example. The destruction of Daegu took less than an hour. Plasma beams from orbit turned the entire city into a smoking crater. 500,000 humans died in the attack. The aliens expected this demonstration to break human resistance. Instead, it had the opposite effect. Within hours, every surviving human in South Korea had volunteered to fight. Farmers abandoned their fields to join resistance cells. Teachers turned their schools into weapons factories. Even children were helping by carrying messages and supplies to hidden fighting positions. They're getting stronger, reported Vexstar. The next day, the destruction of their city didn't make them surrender. It made them angry. Similar reports came from around the world. When alien forces leveled Sydney, Australia responded by arming every civilian and turning the entire continent into a fortress. When they destroyed military bases in Europe, European nations began producing weapons in every factory and workshop. The humans were fighting like cornered animals, vicious, unpredictable, and absolutely refusing to give up no matter how hopeless their situation appeared. Supreme Chancellor Murdoch realized he had made a serious mistake. This wasn't going to be conquest number 848. This was going to be something entirely different. This was going to be a real war. Engineer Changmin stood in the underground hangar, watching his strange-looking fighter jet prepare for its first test flight. The aircraft was unlike anything that had ever flown before. Human wings attached to an alien power core, Earth-made weapons connected to alien targeting systems. It looked like someone had built a plane from spare parts found in different junkyards, but Changmin knew it would work. "Are you sure about this?" asked his assistant, looking nervously at the hybrid machine. "What if the alien power core explodes?" Changmin smiled grimly. "Then we'll build another one, and another one after that. That's what humans do. We keep trying until we get it right." The test pilot, Captain Lena, climbed into the cockpit. 6 months ago, she had been flying regular F-16s against impossible odds. Now she was about to pilot humanity's first truly advanced fighter, built with technology stolen from their enemies. "All systems look good," she reported over the radio. "Power core is stable. Weapons are armed. Let's see what this thing can do." The strange fighter lifted off from the hidden runway and shot into the sky, faster than any human aircraft had ever moved. Within seconds, it was flying at speeds that would have torn apart a normal jet. "Incredible," Changmin whispered, watching the readings on his instruments. "It's actually faster than their interceptors." Above the ruins of Inshin, Lena tested her new weapons against an alien patrol. The enemy fighters moved to intercept her, confident in their technological superiority. They had destroyed thousands of human aircraft over the past 6 months, but this time was different. Lena's hybrid fighter moved in ways alien pilots had never seen before. It could turn sharper, accelerate faster, and most importantly, it could take damage and keep fighting. When alien plasma bolts hit the human-made armor, the ship shook but didn't explode. "Their ships are built for quick victories," Changmin had explained during her training. "Ours are built to survive a long fight. Different philosophy, different strengths." Lena destroyed 2 alien fighters before the others retreated, confused and frightened by this new threat they didn't understand. Far from Earth, in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Admiral Su Young watched the battle reports from her command center. The mining station had been converted into humanity's first space base, hidden among the rocks, where alien sensors couldn't find it easily. Her fleet was small, only 12 ships, but each one was a testament to human determination. They were built from mining equipment, commercial spacecraft, and pieces of destroyed alien vessels. They were ugly, awkward-looking things that no proper military would have accepted, but they worked. "Admiral, we're getting a signal from the Mars stations," reported Commander Kyung-ho, her second-in-command. "The alien Third Fleet is moving away from the planet." Su Young studied the tactical display with satisfaction. 3 weeks ago, her improvised fleet had attacked the alien forces occupying Mars. It had been a desperate gamble. 12 human ships against 50 alien vessels. The battle had lasted 6 hours. When it was over, the humans had lost 4 ships, but the aliens had lost 15. More importantly, the surviving alien ships were now retreating. "They're not used to losing ships," Kyung-ho observed. "In 6 months of fighting, they've lost more vessels than in their previous 100 conquests combined." "Because their previous enemies were smart," Su Young replied. "Smart enough to know when they were beaten. Humans aren't that smart." She was right. The hegemony species had grown comfortable over thousands of years of easy victories. They would arrive at a world demonstrate their power, and watch as the local species calculated their chances and surrendered. It was efficient, predictable, and almost bloodless. But humans didn't calculate odds the way other species did. When faced with impossible situations, they didn't surrender. They got creative. In hidden factories around Earth, human engineers were building weapons that alien textbooks said were impossible. They combined alien technology with human materials in ways that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. Our metal is weaker than theirs, explained Dr. Kim to a group of factory workers in a converted subway tunnel. So we use more of it. Our computers are slower, so we use simpler programs that run faster. Our weapons are less powerful, so we build more of them. The workers nodded and went back to their assembly lines, building crude but effective weapons from alien designs and human materials. Supreme. Chancellor Mordok studied the latest reports from his commanders with growing concern. The war that should have lasted weeks was now in its 6th month. Instead of weakening, human resistance was growing stronger every day. "How many ships have we lost this month?" he asked his military advisor. 47 destroyed, 23 damaged beyond repair, came the reply, and their new fighters are appearing in greater numbers every week. Mordok's 4 eyes blinked. Slowly. In their entire history, the hegemony had never lost 70 ships in a single month of fighting. "Perhaps we should withdraw some of our fleets," suggested his advisor. "Regroup and plan a different approach." But Mordok knew that retreat was no longer an option. Word of the human resistance was already spreading to other worlds in the hegemony. If they failed to conquer Earth, other species might begin to think that the mighty hegemony could be defeated. The war had become about more than just conquering one primitive planet. It had become about the survival of the hegemony itself, and for the first time in 1,000 years, Mordok wasn't sure his forces could win. Admiral Su Young gripped the railing of her command bridge as her flagship dropped out of hyperspace. Through the viewscreen, she could see Kex Prime, the beautiful blue and green homeworld of the hegemony's ruling species. Its 3 moons hung in perfect alignment, and orbital stations sparkled like jewelry around the planet. 50 enemy ships detected, reported her scanner officer. "They're moving to intercept us." Su Young smiled coldly. A year ago, 50 alien ships would have been certain death for any human force. Today, her fleet of 30 hybrid vessels was more than ready for the fight. "Open all communication channels," she ordered. Communications Officer Union channels. "Open, Admiral." So Young took a deep breath and spoke words that would echo across the galaxy. "Attention, hegemony forces. This is Admiral Su Young of the Earth Defense Force. 1 year ago, you came to our world and demanded our submission. Today, we have come to yours. We offer you the same choice you offered us: total and unconditional surrender of your military forces." The silence that followed her words lasted nearly a minute. Then, angry alien voices began shouting responses in dozens of different languages. "They're not happy," Yunyung observed with dark humor. "Good," Su Young replied. "Fear makes them make mistakes." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships, ugly and improvised but deadly effective, tore through the hegemony formations. The aliens fought with discipline and superior technology, but they fought like a people who expected to win easily. The humans fought like a people who had nothing left to lose. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Wonho stood in the rebuilt command center, where the old United Nations building had once stood. The walls were scarred from alien bombardment, but the computers and communication systems worked perfectly. "All strike forces report ready," announced his aide. 12 different targets across hegemony space. Wonho nodded. This was the moment they had planned for months. Not just an attack on one world, but a coordinated strike that would show the entire galaxy that the mighty hegemony could be defeated. "Execute Operation Freefall," he commanded. Across the galaxy, human fleets emerged, from hyperspace near hegemony worlds, not the homeworlds. Humans weren't interested in destroying civilian populations. Instead, they targeted military bases, shipyards, and command centers. The attacks were precisely timed and brutally effective. Human ships would appear without warning, destroy their targets, and disappear back into hyperspace before reinforcements could arrive. But the real genius of the plan wasn't military, it was psychological. Intelligence Chief Myung had spent months studying captured hegemony communications, learning how their alliance really worked. The hegemony isn't held together by friendship or shared beliefs, she had explained to General Wonho. It's held together by fear. Each species serves because they think the hegemony is invincible. Show them it can be beaten, and they'll start thinking about their own interests. She was right. Within hours of the first human attacks, cracks began appearing in the hegemony alliance. The Kalani, the third strongest species in the hegemony, were the first to break ranks. Their ambassador contacted Earth directly, offering to negotiate a separate peace. We were conquered by the hegemony 2,000 years ago, the Kalani ambassador explained during a secret video conference with President Dongwu. We have served them faithfully, but we see now that they are not invincible. We wish to withdraw our fleets from your solar system and return to our homeworld. Within days, 3 more species had made similar deals. They pulled their ships out of the war and retreated to their own territories. Some even began providing information about hegemony weaknesses and battle plans. Supreme Chancellor Mordak watched his great alliance crumble with all 4 eyes wide. In disbelief, species that had served the hegemony for millennia were abandoning their posts. Military commanders were refusing orders. Entire fleets were deserting. How is this possible? He demanded of his advisors. We have conquered 847 worlds. We are the greatest military force in galactic history. The humans are different, replied his military commander, Field Marshal Kexton. They don't fight like other species. They don't calculate odds and surrender when the situation is hopeless. They just keep fighting until they find a way to win. Mordak activated his personal communicator and sent a message directly to Earth. His image appeared on screens in the underground bunker where President Dongwu now governed the remains of his nation. How? Mordak asked, his voice filled with genuine confusion. How did primitives like you defeat the greatest alliance in galactic history? President Dongwu looked at the alien leader through the camera. Behind him, the walls still showed scorch marks from alien attacks. Half his capital city lay in ruins. 50 million of his people were dead, but his voice was steady and strong when he answered. You asked us to submit, he said simply. We asked ourselves what submission was worth. The answer was, nothing. Freedom is worth any price. Our home is worth any sacrifice. Our children's future is worth any risk. He paused, then added, You thought we would calculate the odds and surrender, like your other victims. But humans don't surrender our homes. We don't bow to bullies. And we never, ever, give up when we're fighting for something that matters. Over the following weeks, the remaining hegemony fleets withdrew from human space. The great alliance that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years fell apart as species after species declared independence. Earth began the long process of rebuilding. Cities had to be reconstructed. Farmlands had to be replanted. Families had to mourn their dead and learn to hope again. But they had won something precious. The knowledge that no force in the universe could make humanity bow down if they chose to stand up. The galaxy would remember the lesson Earth had taught. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Never mistake peace for surrender. And never, ever, underestimate a species fighting for its freedom.